Data protection and privacy teams are under more pressure than ever with new laws, AI oversight, data breaches, and the constant expectation to do more with fewer resources.
That's why TrustArc built a modern privacy and data protection management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. It unifies your tools, automates the work that slows you down, and surfaces what matters most right when you need it.
From guided quick actions to our intelligent assistant, Ask Arc, you get credible, contextual answers backed by expert research, not generic AI guesses.
Finally, privacy that works the way privacy pros work.
Learn how TrustArc helps teams move faster with confidence at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.
This is Serious Privacy by TrustArc. Here are your hosts, Paul Breitbart and Kay Royal.
When we recorded this episode last week, it seemed to be a quiet week in the world of privacy and data protection. So we philosophized a little over our profession, about how to get started if you are new, how the profession is maturing, even with award ceremonies and all, and that is the conversation that you will indeed hear this week. Little did we know that just after we had recorded, of course the news would start coming in. The details of the Irish DPC's €405 million for Instagram, including some interesting arguments on what legal basis to use when dealing with children's data, plea for more resources from the EDPS and the EDPB that state that they won't be able to get their work done without more budget, and a €250,000 fine from the CNIL against an online company's register for over-retention of personal data. Oh well, at least you've heard these documents exist now. As always, my name is Paul Breitbart.
And I'm Kay Royal, and welcome to Serious Privacy. This has been a quiet week, Paul. So I think we can pull some questions out.
I'm wondering what's going on. Is this the silence before the storm that's going to hit us come October? I have absolutely no idea. I mean, there are some smaller things happening around the world. I mean, we've seen the data protection authorities across Europe saying, once again, that they don't have enough budget, for example. But that's not really a surprise in my view.
Well, let's start with the first question then.
The unexpected one.
The unexpected one. Who do you want to know better?
Yeah, you hear my brain going, right? It's.
I do. It's spinning. Steam is starting to come out. Well, shall I start?
Yeah, please do, because I have absolutely no inspiration.
The one person that comes to mind always is Sam Elliott.
Who is Sam Elliott?
Sam Elliott is a very famous actor. Some of the later ones he did, this is later, it's probably 15 years ago, was Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. But he's also done the recent, I think it's a miniseries, maybe it's a show, 1884. But he's got a really, 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 really deep voice. And I've been in love with that voice since I knew what voices were.
Does not ring any bell to me.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry.
Okay. You probably would recognize him if you see it. Google it if you don't have it. But yeah, he's awesome. Did you Google it?
Yeah, no.
Love that voice.
Sorry.
Still don't recognize him? Okay, fine. I'm just going to have to introduce you to what would Sam Elliott do.
I mean, I see some movies that I've seen, but no. I mean, this is not somebody that I truly recognize. I'm sorry.
So after the podcast, you're going to have to go click on a couple of the videos and hear his voice.
Yeah, maybe we can add 5 seconds to the recording so that people know who he is.
Okay, quick clip. Sam Elliott.
You know, I could catch more trout than he or any of his friends.
Really?
He was proud of that. But I don't think he ever got the theater arts interest.
Okay, have you thought about who you would like to know better? Sam Elliott?
I do, but... No, still no.
Okay.
It's going to be difficult, but Audrey Hepburn would be on that list, but
Ooh.
She's no longer with us. But that is something that
You'd have to be an angel to go know that one.
Yeah, but that's somebody who I would have liked to have known. On the living side, I would be interested to have a dinner conversation probably with Hillary Clinton.
Ooh, that would be fascinating. Especially everything off the record. I'll never repeat it to a single soul. Just tell me all. Oh, I
What
love
is
it.
like
I love
to
it.
be in those rooms, to be in the room where it happens?
Yeah.
Talking about the room where it happens, Lin-Manuel Miranda probably is up there as well.
Oh, there you go.
That would be nice. And I think for both of us, there is still the open invite for the VP to join us at Serious Privacy.
Yes, Kamala Harris. She still has an open invite to come to it. We have to have some listener that has some contact, that has some pull to get her. But okay. But I will say that room.
Well, maybe you can just walk to her office when we are in DC in November.
There we go, and camp out on the floor and just say you're either going to see us or we're going to die here of starvation and it's all on you. Yeah, that would be interesting. But speaking of Audrey Hepburn and wanting people among the living, what's the sentiment of the Queen dying? It seems to be very controversial around the world, with a lot of people not in the corner of admiring her and what she did, due to I don't know if it's her direct actions or just under the crown, the colonization and everything they did. I frankly think saying, for those of you that are mourning her, our hearts are with you. I don't think that is celebrating 7 decades of being a queen. We'll probably never see that again in our lifetime of a monarch.
It's pretty sure that we won't see that in our lifetime.
In our lifetime, definitely. But we may not ever see this again. It's very rare for a monarch to serve for 70 years.
It is. And let's not forget that the UK, like most monarchies nowadays, is a constitutional monarchy where the royal family cannot just speak out and say whatever they damn please, because it is all subject to government control and government review and government responsibility for everything that is being said by the monarch.
Yeah.
They cannot just dictate policy anymore like they maybe could in the 15, 16, and 1700s.
Right.
Those times have changed. So I think that the Queen has shown that she is willing to adapt to change.
Yes.
And she hasn't been at the forefront of discussions on colonization. At the same time, she has accepted that the world has moved on.
Yeah.
I think that's impressive in itself. And whatever you think of the royal family, it is always sad if somebody's parent passes away, and especially if that parent has played such a significant role in society. And I think that the Brits are the Brits, so maybe they are overdoing it a little with the BBC broadcasting 24/7 only about the Queen is dead and what's going to happen, and people queuing up for 5 miles in London to go to see the coffin.
It's the center part of their being.
At the same time, I mean, if that is how people want to pay their respects, they should be able to.
Right. And equally, those who don't admire her and those who have the hatred or whatever you want to call it, the animosity towards the monarchy or towards the Queen directly, my heart goes out to them too. I mean, here in the U.S., we've had a bad history. Go figure. A lot of it was under the UK, but okay.
Yeah, I wanted to say you also have a bad history with the British monarchy.
Right. My heart goes out to them too. It's never, I mean, I don't think that a queen or a king could be a non-controversial topic, because inevitably something they do is going...
No head of government or state could be, because also a U.S. president is, by their very nature, controversial.
Yes, let's not talk about the controversy we got right now with some sort of magic overseer for documents that should or shouldn't have been removed from the White House and should or shouldn't have been unclassified and should or shouldn't have been stored in a private location. We have our controversies too. Unfortunately, ours is due to our own fault.
Well, I think that as soon as something is stamped as top secret, then maybe you should not be taking it home with you when you leave the office.
Maybe you should not. You should not. And thank y'all. We try to avoid too many politics here in the show because we really do want to be neutral. But, politics inevitably makes its way into what we're doing because we're dealing with laws and we're dealing with enforcement of laws and we're dealing with new laws and we're dealing with the DPAs and the supervisors. And it's inevitable that politics is going to make its way. But I hope y'all understand. Paul and I are here to support our listeners on any side of the fence.
Yeah, although I'm curious to see what the privacy debate not so much the data protection debate, but the broader privacy debate, what effect that will have also on the US midterm elections. I know that a lot of states have ballot initiatives now on, in any case, women's reproductive rights.
Yes.
Following the Dobbs decision and the overturn of Roe v. Wade, which, of course, by its very nature is a privacy issue. And I'm curious to see
a fundamental privacy issue.
What effect that will have come November.
Yeah.
Will turnout be higher? Will participation in the elections be higher? Will indeed some of these more conservative states take a progressive view on these issues?
Yeah.
And what consequences will that have at a national level, which in turn then may also affect the outcomes of the federal data protection debate, whether or not there will be a law and a separate supervisor and all of that.
Right. It's kind of, we don't touch on controversial issues whatsoever. And at the basic level, the IAPP is having their PSR in Austin in October. I think it's October. And a lot of people say they won't go because they don't want to support Texas. And they believe that companies should stand up and flat out say Texas is wrong for what they're doing. Trevor Hughes, the CEO of IAPP, put out a statement that he understands that a lot of people are talking about not going to PSR because of it being in Texas. But he wanted to let people know they're not going to pull out of Texas. They're going to go forward with the PSR. I don't remember what else he said, frankly. But basically a case of, look, you either come to IAPP or you don't, but you're not going to change our mind for where we're hosting our event.
Well, one thing he added to his statement that I agree with is that he thinks that you should have the debate.
Yeah.
And we're better to have the debate than at an in-person conference.
Right.
Even if that is in the state where you disagree with the policies. To some extent, I agree with that. I think there are also just practical issues because moving a conference of the size of a big IAPP event mere months in advance is more easily said than done. And then you can
that is very true.
But then you don't have the debate at all. So I understand everybody that's angry. I won't be in Texas for all different kinds of reasons, budget being one of them.
It would be interesting to know the ones that were upset at it and saying they wouldn't support it, but yet wind up going. I'm not going, but that's for other reasons. That's because I'm going on a 12-day cruise, but I'm not going. But yeah, it's interesting. It really is interesting. So I think that demonstrates that here in privacy, we really cannot stay away from the controversial topics. Although we did not go into the depths of analyzing the Dobbs decision, especially the comments made about other laws that probably need to be reviewed or other decisions that need to be re-reviewed. But it's interesting. So it's been kind of a quiet week. Paul and I aren't just going to sit here and go, well, there you go, podcast over. Welcome back to, 20 minutes of your life that you get back. But I think this does give us the opportunity to talk about some of the basic things in privacy that we really don't talk about. Sometimes we do when we do a women in privacy show. Sometimes we'll talk about it there. But I think, Paul, part of it is the way that new professionals are coming into the privacy profession, data protection profession. Frankly, you can say cybersecurity on the policy side, not the technical side. And they're coming into it purposefully. What would you say if someone was in college and they knew they wanted to go into privacy as a profession? What would you recommend they do or take at that time in college? Think about in college. What would you recommend they take?
I think that really depends also on what courses that college or university offers.
Right.
Because you cannot just say, well, I want to take privacy law, but if it is not in your, if it is not offered in the curriculum that you are following, then that's going to be pretty difficult.
You really can't. Well, and inevitably why am I saying the word inevitably? I think that's like the 5th time I've said it. So that's the word of the day, inevitably. But we have undergraduates in our privacy course at ASU, usually anywhere from 3 to 5 undergraduates. And I have supervised their honors thesis for their undergraduate paper. A lot of them do it on privacy. One of the last ones was on facial recognition technology and how that's used. And now she was just admitted to law school. I think that's fabulous. And she had been debating whether she wanted to go to law school or not, but was leaning away from it. But she so got into it during her honors thesis that she fell in love with being a lawyer. So that, and I never, ever, ever tell people to not be a lawyer. I know there are attorneys that do it. Don't come into this profession. It's full of bunk. They're arrogant. You're going to become an alcoholic. There's all these dissuasion statements they make. Medical is pretty much along the same line where, the old doctors will say, well, if I was going into medicine now, I just wouldn't do it. It's not worth it. No, this is a fascinating profession. I love it. I love being a lawyer. I love being in privacy. But okay, so
I think if you are looking at things that are generally thought, I would say take something along the lines of constitutional law and human rights law, because that gives you a solid background.
What says Constitution?
Yeah, I mean how to read those fundamental rights and how do they compare to each other and how do they fit into the essence of the state. I think that's important. I think some form of technology law, IT law, communications law, whatever is on offer might be useful. Media law could be useful. Of course, if there are tailored data protection courses, those are relevant. But also some administrative law, because that will help you to much better understand the processes and procedures that the supervisory authorities are following and how they come to their decisions.
Well, and the agencies here in the U.S., which are essentially the fourth branch of government that we have. Mm-hmm. And in law school, that was what I told people I wanted to do was international, I had health, but international health regulatory law. And look at me living the life of international privacy regulatory law.
Yeah, I think those kind of things are really important.
Yeah.
So that is something that I would recommend.
Yeah. I recommend business courses. They need to take business courses, at least one, to understand the foundations of how businesses work. Because if they don't have some sort of business savvy to their toolbox, they're not going to be successful where they go work, because they have to be able to understand the business and how to fit what they're doing into the business goals. And that takes a little bit. I also recommend negotiations or mediation. Build those skills.
Those are
into
skills,
what you're doing.
And not all universities also teach skills. So that is something.
Well, not all universities teach privacy law either. So
no.
What do they need to have? What would a college person need to do? Probably an internship at a lawmaking body would be good. Go for a semester and see how law is made.
And I would say take some tech courses, do some coding, do some programming, understand how the technology actually works, that you can, well, maybe not that you can write the technology, but that you at least can ask the right questions.
Right.
Because that's something I experience now also in my current role at Katawiki. You are spending quite a lot of time also as data protection lead with your IT department, with your developers, with your data team, trying to understand what is it that they are doing all day and what access to data do they have. And if they say, well, we have a container with data elements that we want to move from one platform to the other, and how does that work? And can we use live data in our staging environment? Then you need to understand. Yeah,
your understanding of what a data container is might not be what it actually is. I think that's what you're saying.
Exactly, but also what the difference between a staging environment and a live environment is. Those kind of things that for some of our listeners may be very basic. Yeah. But if you've never encountered that in your day-to-day life or in your school, then that might be something that can be very can be very confronting for you.
Yeah, well, and understanding some of the technologies behind encrypting data at rest and data in motion, and what does it mean to own your own data key. So I agree with you. I think a technology course, maybe a technology course for lawyers, which the Association of Corporate Counsel, I believe, does a technology thing for lawyers, what do lawyers need to know. So I think
it's also part of the curriculum at the Maastricht University's Advanced Master's Program.
Well, because it's important.
The non-lawyers get 2 weeks of basic European law, and the lawyers get 2 weeks of technology, basically technology for dummies. But
of
course, that can, at an academic level, help them understand this is foundational.
Right. And you need to have some understanding of the environment that you're going into. Now, different companies have different cultures, but you need to understand the general, not the generic, the general environment that you're going into, which that's why I like startup companies. I don't fit with huge companies with very staid environments, but they need to be able to understand that, one, privacy is not widely accepted by all companies. It's going to be an uphill battle no matter where you go. So you need to understand the environment of what you're entering and that you've got challenges ahead.
I think that's more easily said than done.
Yes. Very much so.
If I'm fairly honest, because especially if you are just getting started, if you are just finishing up school and starting to work, what you like, what fits you, whether you function within a big hierarchy or not.
Yeah.
That is not so easy to decide.
It's not. And I can't tell you how many law students, probably 90% of them that I went to law school with that had zero real life experience because they went straight through, primary and secondary school and straight through their bachelor's degree and straight through their law degree. They'd never actually had to function out in society managing. I mean, I'm not saying they weren't skilled at all, but certainly very sheltered up until that point.
Yeah. It is one of the reasons why I don't think if you are coming just out of school, being a consultant is the best idea because...
Oh, we've seen that happen, hadn't we? They have no clue.
It happens a lot. And I do understand that a lot of these consultancies also have in-house trainings programs and that they give you an opportunity to learn a lot before you are put on certain clients. But still, it
is a brutal meat grinding environment.
That plus if you have never worked in a company before yourself, I think it's really difficult to tell others what to do. Already when I joined TrustArc, or back then Nimity, in
a whole lifetime ago,
2016, indeed a whole lifetime ago, that was my first job in the private sector since finishing my university degree.
I started TrustArc in 2016.
And that is already, before that, I only had government experience. And working for the government is really different. That's fairly easy to do straight out of university, straight out of school, because your responsibilities change gradually over time. And there is much more mentorship, I think, than in the average company is available. Whereas if you start working in the private sector, especially in a startup, you need to hit the ground running.
And that's hard to do. I know
unless you are in a very big organization where there is a full training program in place and coaching and mentoring program in place. But otherwise, that can be very difficult. And to be a consultant in one of those big companies, telling others how they should act and how they should change without having gone through these processes on the other side, I think is very difficult.
Well, yeah. And when I started TrustArc, I was a consultant. Now I was hired on full time to do consulting full time. But it was interesting when I would talk to potential clients or maybe established clients who were using a consultant to implement GDPR, because that was at that time. And the consulting field was rampant with companies needing to implement GDPR. I recall being on the phone with a lot of them, and I got usually two main questions, separate questions. One is, well, how much experience do your consultants actually have? Because all the other consultants we've talked to or work with, they know nothing about privacy. And so I'd have to assure them on that, because TrustArc only hired experienced people as consultants. Mm-hmm. But the second question I usually got is, well, yeah, okay, I understand that you're going to be the supervisor consultant on the job, but is the person we work with, are they actually going to know what they're doing? And when I would say, oh, no, I'm going to be your consultant, there is no junior person under me that will be doing the work. It's going to be me. They were shocked. And not because of me, but because of someone with experience. The other consultants had the same reaction on the phone with potential clients, that they were being sold a consulting package by other companies. And they comprised maybe a supervisor who maybe knew something, but then the entire team under him knew nothing.
Yeah, then you get the partner, and then under the partner, a director, and then a junior or a senior, and then a junior or a bunch of juniors, and you pay for each and every one of them.
And then a new grad who doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. So those were the days. I think there's a song around that somewhere. Those were the days. But yeah, so Okay, so going back to it then. So we've talked about new people coming into the field. What about, and I get this a lot, but what about experienced professionals who want to transition into privacy? Usually I get it from a lot of attorneys. You know, they've got 10 years or 20 years doing ABC and they want to move into privacy because it's a hot field. Or even those at law firms who don't necessarily want to move into privacy, but they need to understand it because, you know, they're talking to their clients about it and they're helping their clients pick what platform or tools to use. TrustArc, hello, TrustArc. They're trying to figure out what tools they should use, but the attorneys don't understand the tools themselves. And if they don't even understand the laws that drive the tools or the platform, how are they going to advise their clients? So what do you say to experienced professionals who want to make a career move? And I'm dancing with my hands here, people. La, la,
Yeah,
la, la.
start learning. I think that is basic number one. Start reading up because there's an awful lot of books out there, but also articles. There are how-tos and look for sources that you trust. Obviously, for people that do have a longer background, just don't buy the GDPR for Dummies just because that's easy to understand.
Is there a GDPR for Dummies book?
I don't know. And if there is, no offense, because I've never seen the book, but take a book that is a bit more serious, explaining how it all works. Maybe you don't start with the big volume by Chris Cooner, Chris Doxey, and Lee Bygrave of 700 pages explaining each and every article of the GDPR with case law and everything.
Right.
That might be overdoing it, but there is middle ground to be found there.
Yeah.
Participate in webinars just by listening and asking your questions.
Yeah.
Take a data protection basic training course.
And don't be argumentative. Let me just point that out. Don't be argumentative. When you get yourself involved in a conversation, which you should do, because that's how to get your name known, whether it's live whether it's webinar, whether it's live in person, whether it's writing on LinkedIn, someone puts out a question, you answer. Don't be argumentative if you don't know what you're talking about.
No, I think that's fair. If you do know what you are talking about, obviously, then try not to be too argumentative, because being friendly is important, even if you disagree with people, or even more so if you disagree with people.
Yes. Know how to be respectful about it. And then just know that if you don't have experience in privacy and you think you know what it is based on whatever it is you read or you did, you may be wrong. There is a lot of gray area in this, and you put 3 privacy professionals in a room together and you're going to get 5 opinions.
At least, yeah.
So inevitably, they can all be right. They can all be wrong.
Yeah, I think that's true. But educating yourself, especially if you want to move into the privacy space, is important. Learn some of the basics, learn some of the lingo, because the time that we talked about PII really is behind us.
Yeah, it really is.
Either personal information, or rather, from my European perspective, personal data. But PII goes back to the early 2000s and the late 90s. And that is not something that's relevant anymore.
Yeah, that's like using email with a dash between it. That's old. Quit using that. That's old. But you're right, PII, that's one of the things at OutSchool that I'm trying to break people of, is using the PII.
Same here.
And trying to educate them as to it's personal information or it's personal data. We're going to take the identifying out because it's all personal information or personal data.
And it's basically all identifiable nowadays.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to identify.
With big data, it's hardly,
Yeah.
And if y'all say, but we can't identify.
Yeah. Know that laws are difficult, that there are a lot of similarities between data protection laws around the world. Maybe also the ones in your jurisdiction, but that it comes down to the nitty-gritty details that may be different, and that then those differences are also very large.
Right.
And there is no such thing as one data protection law or one privacy law that you are subject to. There are many, many more.
You could take an entire paragraph out of an analysis on privacy or training, or you could take an entire paragraph out and put an entirely different paragraph in, and you'd still be right.
Yeah, and realize that if you, for example, talk about online marketing in Europe, that you shouldn't look at GDPR first and foremost, but that you should look at the e-privacy directive and its national implementations.
Yeah.
So
understand how it fits with GDPR.
Yeah, but also understand that there is no such thing as legitimate interest in e-privacy. And that is not a ground.
There is no such thing as legitimate interest in cookies and trackers and ads and behavior. It can't be. No, it's all based on consent. It is all based on consent.
These are our pet peeves as well for our listeners. I'm sure they've heard them all before, but it is important if you want to move into privacy, which I encourage, but educate yourself before starting the discussion. And there are a lot of ways to do that. I mean, go to the conferences. Really are. Do the trainings, participate in the webinar discussions or the online Q&As.
Reach out to people you admire or you like or whose name comes up.
And what we've heard from quite a few of our listeners, listen to Serious Privacy because it helps to get you started in this community.
It really does. Our listeners trust us. We give the frank, open information regardless. And every now and then, like we just did, you can tell our preferences and pet peeves. But there you go. But I will say that is an interesting way of doing it, because one of the things that I recommend to experienced professionals is leverage what you know. So if you're a litigator, an easy move might be going to a healthcare company or an insurance company where they actually have litigators on staff, especially the insurance companies, because of all the suits and everything they have. So leverage what you have. Go into that. If you're a medical lawyer or med mal or anything like that, you know the medical lingo. Go into a hospital where you can be a HIPAA officer or something like that.
Like Barry Moll, also in the UK, that we spoke to that you spoke to together with Ralph. A couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, former nurse who specialized in privacy. Learned it when the first laws came out. So you can always leverage something you have. Just the most important thing that I always say a privacy professional needs to have is flexibility of thinking, whether you call it creativity, initiative, innovation, whatever you want to call it, you have to be flexible. There are very few things in privacy law that is a hard, cold, black line, don't cross.
Yeah.
So we can usually find a way for you to do what you want to do.
Yeah, and you see that the profession is maturing, not just because there is more education available, but also, and I think that's quite fun to see, there are many more professional awards coming up. And these are not just the pay-for-play professional awards. I mean, IPP has had them for a while with the IPP Vanguard Award.
They just expanded it to a whole lot more of regions.
Yeah. So the IPP has them, but now also later this year, on the 8th of December, the Data Protection World Forum is launching their Picasso Privacy Awards for UK privacy professionals. We have, of course, the Giovanni Buttarelli Award coming up at the International Data Protection Conference, the Global Privacy Assembly. And we now also have the Women at Privacy Awards. The Women at is a group of mainly female professionals who provide a mentorship program, in this case to women in privacy, also to women in competition law and other fields of law. And they have now introduced the Privacy Awards that are open to women privacy professionals in the European Economic Area and Switzerland.
Oh, and don't forget the one that I was just in, the Cybersecurity Woman of the Year. They have a category for the legal professional, whether it's in privacy or cybersecurity law, whatever. They have a category for the women law professional. So that's fascinating. You're absolutely right. And then let's see, there was one last question. Well, no, it wasn't really a last question. The statistic on the number of privacy professionals. We've talked about this before. Back in 2017, the IAPP predicted that the GDPR would create at least 75,000 new privacy jobs. When they returned in 2019 and looked at numbers, there were over 500,000 companies who had submitted a DPO in the EEA. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean there's 500,000 DPOs. One DPO could have multiple companies. But even if you put down each one has 10 or 100, that's an astronomical number, still over the amount. So it's interesting when you look at that. But one of the things that I've seen because of this is, one, companies are saying they prefer lawyers as their privacy officers because of the extent of the laws that you have to be able to understand. It's not necessary, but that's what they're saying they require. They, of course, want the certifications, default, CIPP, CIPM, things along that line. Or they want people with lots of experience, 10 to 15 years of privacy experience. You need to understand that the privacy profession with the astronomical numbers really started in like 2018, because that's when the GDPR went into effect. And that's when everyone had to have privacy officers and DPOs. Now, there were privacy laws before that.
So yeah, you may be lucky if you get 5 years.
Yeah. I was going to say definitely privacy people long before then, but it's a much, much smaller scale of audience you're looking for. And companies don't want to pay for that experience. They want that experience, but they want to pay essentially entry level levels because of the wide just ocean of privacy professionals that they can fish in now. So I think it has lowered the salary expectation, which is disappointing. Not because I just want to be rich, but just saying there's a big difference between paying for a newbie and paying for an experienced person. And I don't think companies are recognizing that because there's so many professionals from them to choose from now.
Yeah, and at some point they will start to notice, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. So this has been just kind of an off-the-cuff conversation Paul and I had.
Philosophizing.
There's not a whole heck of a lot brand new this week in privacy. There are some things, but not any really big news. I mean, the Twitter breach, okay. No, that's not the breach. It's a Twitter whistleblower. So you got that. That's an interesting thing to follow. The FTC.
Like the Uber CISO who is also in court. The one that covered up the Uber hack, or allegedly, I should say, covered up the Uber hack.
But also the FTC had their open forum on the laws and the security, their advanced rulemaking notice that they did. That was on September 8th. It was open. Fascinating. So there wasn't a heck of a lot that was earth-shattering, but there were a few key movements that we had. We can talk about the FTC and their advanced notice rulemaking later. We might be able to report out on how the trial went for the Uber CISO. So that's going to be interesting. And then if y'all have information you want us to talk about, is there something that's come across in your world that you really don't understand? Sometimes we do questions from our fans too.
Indeed. Just let us know and we can discuss it in one of our forthcoming episodes. So for now, this philosophy episode, as I think we should call it, is over.
Sensitive data, our philosophical viewpoints.
Exactly. So thank you for listening to yet another episode of Serious Privacy. Like and review the episodes in your favorite podcast app or application, and reach out to us. You'll find us on LinkedIn as Serious Privacy. You'll find us on Twitter as @PodcastPrivacy. You'll find Kay on Twitter as Heart of Privacy and myself as Paul B. Until next week, goodbye.
Bye, y'all.
That was Serious Privacy.
If you're a data protection or privacy professional, you already know the pressure. Non-stop regulatory change, AI oversight, internal demands, and the expectation to somehow stay ahead of it all. And the old patchwork of tools just isn't cutting it anymore.
No. That's why TrustArc created a modern privacy management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. The TrustArc platform brings your workflows, evidence, research, tasks, and applications all together in one unified and intelligent workspace so you don't waste time digging, clicking, or context switching.
With Ask Arc, your privacy assistant, you can ask plain language questions about laws, jurisdictions, or even your own program data, and get credible, cited answers based on NIMBY research and more than 1,000 global laws. It's explainable, transparent, and purpose-built for data protection and privacy.
So if you need to add a vendor, create a cookie banner, or start an assessment, quick actions take formally complex tasks, turn them into bite-sized guided workflows to save you time.
It's a platform that thinks like you, works like you, and helps you move faster with confidence, whether you're a seasoned DPO or you're just getting started.
See how modern privacy gets done. Explore Arc at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.